Kimberly Davenport pulled her worn Honda into the driveway of her small rental house. Her shoulders ached from her 8-hour shift at the diner, but she still had 3 hours of online customer service work ahead of her tonight, and the digital clock on her dashboard read 4:47 p.m. Just enough time to make dinner for Ethan before diving into her second job. She gathered her purse and the small bag of groceries from the passenger seat. The April sun was warm in Detroit today, a welcome change after the long winter. As she walked toward her front door, she noticed an unfamiliar black SUV parked across the street. Men in dark suits sat inside, watching her house. Kimberly quickened her pace. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Inside, she found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table with a strange man in a gray suit. Her 10-year-old son looked up, his eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, this is Mr. Grant from the government. Grandpa left me $50 million. The man stood and extended his hand. "Ms. Davenport, Patrick Grant, United States Department of Energy, Special Projects Division. May we speak privately?" 20 minutes later, Kimberly sat stunned at her kitchen table. Ethan had been sent to his room protesting the whole way. Her hands trembled around a mug of coffee she couldn't bring herself to drink. "Let me understand this," she said. "My father-in-law, who I met exactly twice before he disappeared 10 years ago, was secretly working with aliens?" Grant nodded. "Dr. Howard Davenport was one of our most brilliant physicists. His official work at NASA was just a cover. He was part of a classified program making contact with several extraterrestrial civilizations. And now he's left my son patents worth $50 million. Patents for alien technology? The $50 million figure is extremely conservative, Ms. Davenport. The actual value is..." Grant paused. "Well, there isn't enough money on Earth to accurately value what your son now owns." Kimberly ran her hands through her hair. "This is insane. Absolutely insane. I understand this is overwhelming," Grant said, "but I need you to focus. Your son has inherited technology that could advance human development by 2 centuries overnight. A quantum propulsion system, room temperature superconductors, medical nanobots that could eliminate most diseases. Why would Dr. Davenport leave this to Ethan? He barely knew him." Grant sighed. "Your late husband Daniel was supposed to carry on his father's work. After he died in that car accident 5 years ago, Dr. Davenport changed his will to name Ethan as his heir." Kimberly thought of her husband. Daniel had been brilliant like his father, with degrees in physics and engineering. He had always been secretive about his work. Had he been part of this alien contact program too? "There's something else you should know," Grant said, his voice lowering. "These patents aren't just valuable to us. There's an organization called the Galactic Confederation. Think of it as the United Nations, but for spacefaring civilizations. They have strict rules about technological development of younger species like humanity." "Younger species?" Kimberly repeated. "Yes. Earth is considered a developing world. There are protocols about how quickly we should advance. Dr. Davenport's work with friendly alien scientists broke those rules. Several alien factions have already filed petitions to nullify Ethan's inheritance." Kimberly stood up suddenly. "This is a joke, right? Some elaborate prank?" Grant reached into his briefcase and pulled out a small metal cube. He placed it on the table and pressed his thumb against one side. The cube hummed and rose 6 inches into the air, where it hung spinning slowly. "This is the most basic application of the gravity manipulation technology and just one of the patents Ethan now owns," Grant said as Kimberly stared at the floating cube. "And it's the least valuable one." Kimberly reached out with a trembling hand and passed her fingers under the cube. Nothing held it up. It simply floated. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Your father-in-law was part of a movement that believed humanity deserves to advance on our own terms, not according to some alien timetable," Grant continued. "He worked with sympathetic beings from other worlds. Those allies are now in danger too." The cube lowered itself back to the table as Grant pressed another side. "So what happens now?" Kimberly asked. "Now you need to decide. The government can buy the patents from Ethan. We'll pay you enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your lives. Or you can maintain ownership, but that comes with significant risk. What kind of risk? Grant's face darkened. Those men outside in the SUV, they're your security detail as of this morning. We've detected unusual orbital activity in the past 24 hours. Several non-human entities have already arrived on Earth through unofficial channels. You mean aliens are here, looking for us? Not all extraterrestrials respect our sovereignty, Ms. Davenport. Some see us as primitive. They want this technology back under wraps. Others want it for themselves. Kimberly walked to the window and peered through the blinds at the SUV. You're telling me my son and I are in danger from aliens? I'm afraid it's worse than that. Some human organizations would also kill for what Ethan now owns. Industrial espionage with this technology would be worth trillions. Kimberly returned to the table and finally took a sip of her cold coffee. What would you do, Mr. Grant, if it were your child? Grant's professional demeanor cracked slightly. I have a daughter about Ethan's age. If it were her? He looked down at his hands. I'd take the government's money and disappear somewhere quiet. But that's not what Dr. Davenport would have wanted, is it? No. He believed these advances belonged to all humanity, not just governments or corporations. That's why he structured the inheritance the way he did. Grant checked his watch. You don't have to decide today. We can protect you while you consider your options. After Grant left, Kimberly called Ethan downstairs. Her son bounded into the kitchen with a child's excitement. Are we rich now, Mom? Can I get a PlayStation? Kimberly smiled sadly and pulled him into a hug. How could she explain that his inheritance had made them targets? That alien beings were coming for what he now owned? That night, after Ethan went to bed, Kimberly noticed unfamiliar lights in the sky above their house. They moved too quickly and changed direction too sharply to be airplanes. Her phone rang. It was Grant. Ms. Davenport, we're detecting multiple unauthorized entries into Earth's atmosphere. I'm sending a team to move you and Ethan to a secure location immediately. Pack only essentials, they'll be there in 20 minutes. What's happening? She asked, her heart racing. The Proximan Mining Consortium has sent agents. They're not here to negotiate. Get Ethan ready, now. The line went dead. Kimberly stood frozen for a moment, then rushed to wake her son. Their normal life was over, replaced by something straight out of science fiction. And it was only the beginning. The black government SUV sped through the night, its tires screeching as it took a sharp turn. In the back seat, Kimberly held Ethan close. The boy was still in his dinosaur pajamas, a small backpack of hastily gathered belongings at his feet. Two agents sat in the front, their faces grim in the glow of the dashboard. Where are we going? Kimberly asked. They had been driving for over an hour. Secure facility beneath Lake Michigan, the driver replied without turning. Underground base with alien-proof shielding. Alien-proof, Kimberly repeated. The words sounded ridiculous, yet here they were, running for their lives in the middle of the night. A sudden flash of light filled the sky behind them. Kimberly turned to see a bright green beam cutting through the clouds. The SUV swerved as the road behind them exploded, sending chunks of asphalt flying. They found us, the agent in the passenger seat said. He pulled out a strange-looking gun. Hold on tight! The SUV accelerated to dangerous speeds. Ethan clung to his mother, eyes wide with fear now instead of excitement. Mom, what's happening? Before Kimberly could answer, something large and dark swooped down from above. Through the moonroof, she caught a glimpse of a smooth metallic shape, like an aircraft but with no visible wings or engines. Proximan scout ship, the driver muttered. How did they track us so quickly? The agent in the passenger seat opened his window and fired his weapon. A blue pulse of energy shot upward, hitting the craft with a flash. The craft wobbled but kept pace above them. We need to split up, the driver decided. There's a boat waiting at the harbor. It's 3 miles ahead. We'll draw them away while you two make a run for it. A boat? We're going into the lake? Kimberly asked. The entrance to the facility is underwater. The boat captain has the coordinates. They screeched to a halt near a dark marina. The driver handed Kimberly a small silver device that looked like a cell phone. This will guide you to Dock 7. The captain's name is Russo. Tell him yesterday's weather was cloudy. He'll know you're cleared. What about our house? Our things? Kimberly asked. The agent looked grim. I'm sorry, Miss Davenport. Your house was destroyed 20 minutes after we picked you up. Energy weapons, nothing left but ash. Kimberly felt numb. Her home, her photos of Daniel, everything they owned, gone. Go now, the agent urged. We'll lead them away. Hand in hand, Kimberly and Ethan ran through the dark marina as the SUV sped off in another direction, tires squealing. Above them, the alien craft hesitated, then followed the SUV. They found Dock 7 where a small unmarked boat waited. A gruff man with a salt and pepper beard stood on deck. Are you Russo? Kimberly called. Depends who's asking, he replied, eyeing them suspiciously. Yesterday's weather was cloudy, Kimberly said, feeling ridiculous. Russo's demeanor changed instantly. Get on board. Now. Once they were on the water, speeding away from shore, Kimberly saw bright flashes in the distance where they had left. The agents. Her stomach twisted with guilt. Those men, she said. Will they be okay? Russo kept his eyes on the dark waters ahead. They knew the risks. They're buying us time. The boat traveled for 30 minutes across the vast darkness of Lake Michigan. Ethan had fallen asleep against his mother, exhausted by fear and confusion. Kimberly stroked his hair, wondering how their lives had changed so dramatically in just one day. We're here, Russo finally announced, cutting the engine in what appeared to be the middle of nowhere. The boat drifted on gentle waves. Where's the facility? Kimberly asked, looking around at empty water. Russo pressed something on his watch. The boat began to sink. What's happening? Kimberly cried, shaking Ethan awake. Relax, Russo said. We're going down the elevator. The boat descended below the surface, water rising up clear walls that had suddenly appeared around them. They were in some kind of transparent tube that was taking them deep under the lake. Fish swam past in the dark waters beyond the glass. When they emerged at the bottom, they found themselves in a vast underground hangar. People in uniforms rushed around what looked like spacecraft and other strange vehicles. The boat came to rest at a small dock where a woman in a crisp blue suit waited. Ms. Davenport, I'm Director Susan Blackwood. Welcome to Deep Lake 1. The facility was enormous, stretching under the lake for what seemed like miles. Kimberly and Ethan were given a small but comfortable room with 2 beds and their own bathroom. After a quick meal in the facility's cafeteria, Ethan fell asleep almost instantly, worn out by the day's events. Kimberly, however, couldn't sleep. Director Blackwood had promised a full briefing in the morning, but Kimberly's mind raced with questions. She sat in a chair by Ethan's bed, watching him sleep, wondering what kind of life they would have now. A soft knock came at the door. Director. Blackwood entered with 2 cups of coffee. I figured you'd be awake, she said, handing 1 cup to Kimberly. It's a lot to process. That's an understatement, Kimberly replied. How long do we stay here? Blackwood took a seat across from her. That depends on what you decide to do about the patents. Mr. Grant said the government would buy them. That's one option, Blackwood nodded. But it might not solve your problem. The Proximans don't care who owns the patents. They want the technology destroyed or stolen. They don't believe humanity should have it yet. Yet? Kimberly asked. When are we supposed to have it? According to Galactic Confederation guidelines, not for another 300 years, Blackwood said. Some species evolve faster than others. Humans are considered unpredictable. Dangerous, you mean? Blackwood smiled slightly. Let's just say our capacity for both creation and destruction makes other species nervous. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the hallway. What's that? Kimberly asked, jumping to her feet. Blackwood's hand went to an earpiece. Her face paled as she listened to whatever was being said. We have a breach, she said. Someone inside the facility helped the Proximans find us. They've sent assassins. Assassins? Kimberly repeated in horror. Wake Ethan. Now, Blackwood ordered, pulling out a weapon similar to what the agents had used earlier. We need to get you two off Earth. Off Earth? Kimberly gasped. What are you talking about? There's a ship ready. It's experimental, but it's your only chance. The facility is compromised. The sounds of energy weapons firing echoed from somewhere in the facility. Screams followed. They're coming, Blackwood said grimly. And they won't stop until they have those patents. Kimberly shook Ethan awake as explosions rocked the underwater facility. The boy blinked in confusion, then sat bolt upright as another blast shuddered through the walls. Mom, what's happening? We have to go, Kimberly said, helping him into his shoes. Right now. Director Blackwood stood at the door, weapon ready. Follow me. Stay close. They rushed into the corridor where emergency lights flashed red. Facility staff ran in all directions. Some carried weapons, others helped wounded colleagues. This way, Blackwood directed, leading them down a side passage. The launch bay is on the lower level. As they turned a corner, they came face to face with something Kimberly had never seen before. It stood 7 feet tall with gray-blue skin and 4 arms. Its wide, flat face had 3 yellow eyes that blinked independently. It wore some kind of armored suit and held a weapon that glowed green at its tip. Proximate Hunter, Blackwood hissed, pushing Kimberly and Ethan behind her. The alien spoke in a series of clicks and whistles. A device on its belt translated into flat mechanical English. Give us the child and the woman can live. Not happening, Blackwood replied, raising her weapon. The alien and Blackwood fired at the same time. The alien's shot hit the wall beside them, melting a hole in the metal. Blackwood's weapon made no sound, but the alien stumbled backward and collapsed. Is it dead? Ethan asked, his voice small. Stunned, Blackwood answered. Come on, there will be more. They reached an elevator that took them deeper into the facility. When the doors opened, they were in a massive hangar bay. Unlike the upper level with its conventional boats, this area housed vessels that looked nothing like Earth technology. One ship stood out, sleek and silver with no visible engines or windows. That's your ride, Blackwood said, pointing to the silver ship. The Horizon, first human-built starship using Dr. Davenport's technology. I can't fly that thing, Kimberly protested. You don't have to. It has an AI navigation system. Just tell it where you want to go. And where exactly should we go? Kimberly asked as they rushed toward the ship. There's a human outpost on Mars, hidden in the Valles Marineris Canyon. The ship knows the way. As they approached the Horizon, a ramp extended from its smooth side. The interior was cramped but clean, with 2 seats that molded themselves to fit their bodies when they sat down. The ship will protect you, Blackwood explained, quickly showing Kimberly the simple controls. It has shields and a cloaking system. Once you're in space, activate the cloak and head for Mars. The base is expecting you. A massive explosion rocked the hangar. The ceiling began to crack, water seeping through in thin streams. They're trying to flood the facility, Blackwood said grimly. I need to help evacuate the others. Come with us, Kimberly urged. Blackwood shook her head. My place is here. The ship is programmed for 2 passengers only anyway. She handed Kimberly a small metal disc. This contains everything your son needs to know about his inheritance. Dr. Davenport left instructions, video messages for Ethan. He knew this day might come. With a final nod, Blackwood stepped back and the ramp closed. Through the newly formed view screen on the inside of the hull, they watched her run back toward the elevator. Director Blackwood seems nice, Ethan said, trying to sound brave despite the fear in his eyes. Yes, she does, Kimberly agreed, examining the controls. There was a simple panel with pictures instead of words. She pressed the one that looked like a rocket. Launch sequence initiated, a calm voice announced. Please, remain seated during ascent. The ship hummed to life, lifting smoothly off the hangar floor. Below them, more Proximate Hunters entered the hangar, firing at the ship. The shots bounced off an invisible shield. Shields at maximum, the ship's voice said. Preparing for underwater ascent. The hangar roof opened, revealing the dark waters of Lake Michigan above. The ship rose into the water and Kimberly felt pressure building around them as they ascended. Mom, look. Ethan pointed to a screen showing what was happening behind them. The underwater facility was breaking apart, water rushing in through massive holes blown in its structure. All those people, Kimberly whispered. The ship broke through the surface of the lake and accelerated upward at impossible speed. The pressure pushed them back into their seats, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Within minutes, the blue sky darkened to black, and stars appeared all around them. Earth orbit achieved, the ship announced. Cloaking device available. Kimberly pressed the button that looked like a ship with dotted lines around it. Cloaking device activated, the voice confirmed. For a few moments, they sat in stunned silence, looking at the blue-green earth below them. It was beautiful and surreal. "Mom," Ethan said quietly, "are we really in space?" "Yes, honey," Kimberly answered, still trying to process it herself. "We really are." "What happens now?" he asked. Before she could answer, the ship's alert system activated. Multiple vessels detected in pursuit, Proximans and unidentified ships approaching from lunar orbit. A screen showed several red dots moving toward their position. "Can they see us with the cloak on?" Kimberly asked. "They cannot detect visual signature, but quantum wake is traceable," the ship replied. "Recommend immediate departure using FTL drive." "FTL?" Kimberly asked. "Faster than light," Ethan explained, his eyes wide with excitement despite their situation. "Like in sci-fi movies." "Mars is too close for effective evasion," the ship's AI continued. "Recommend random jump to asteroid belt followed by secondary jump to Mars base." "Do it," Kimberly ordered, having no better ideas. "Preparing for FTL. Jump. Please brace for acceleration." The stars outside stretched into lines, and Kimberly felt a brief sensation like being pulled in all directions at once. Then it stopped, and outside their view screen was a field of tumbling rocks, the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. "We are temporarily safe," the ship announced. "However, fuel reserves are at 40%. Mars journey requires 30%. Recommend immediate." The ship suddenly went silent. All the lights dimmed. They were drifting. "What happened?" Kimberly asked. "Ship, are you there?" A deep voice responded, but it wasn't the ship's AI. "Power conservation mode activated. Remain calm." A section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden compartment. A man stepped out. He was tall, with weathered skin and short gray hair. A scar ran from his left eye down to his jaw. His right arm appeared to be made of metal. "Who are you?" Kimberly demanded, pulling Ethan close. The man's stern face softened slightly. "Lucas Vega, commander of the Defiance. Howard Davenport was my friend." He looked at Ethan. "And I'm your godfather." "Kid." Kimberly stared at the scarred man who had appeared from nowhere. "Godfather? Ethan doesn't have a godfather." Lucas Vega moved to the ship's control panel, his metal fingers dancing across the surface. "Howard never told your husband?" "Typical. Howard was always secretive, even with Daniel." "You knew my dad?" Ethan asked, his eyes wide. "I did." "Good man. Brilliant, like his father." Lucas tapped a final button and the ship hummed back to life. "Had to shut down the AI temporarily. It leaves a signal the Proximans can track." "How did you get on this ship?" Kimberly demanded. "I've been here the whole time." This was Howard's ship before it became government property. He built in a few secrets they never found. Lucas gestured to where he had emerged. "Like that panic room." A screen lit up showing several dots moving through space. "Proximan hunters," Lucas explained. 5 ships, they're scanning the asteroid field for us." "What do we do now?" Kimberly asked. "We don't go to Mars. That's what they'll expect." Lucas pressed his metal palm against a blank section of wall. It glowed briefly, and a hidden compartment opened, revealing what looked like a pilot's seat. "I'm taking control now." The ship moved smoothly through the asteroid field. Lucas piloted with the skill of someone who had done this many times before. His human hand worked the controls, while his metal one seemed to connect directly with the ship itself. "You still haven't told us who you are," Kimberly said. Really? Lucas kept his eyes on the asteroids. Former Earth Special Forces, recruited 20 years ago for the first human deep space program. Now I command the Defiance, a ship of human and alien rebels who believe humanity has the right to join the galactic community on our own terms. Rebels against what? Kimberly asked. The Galactic Confederation and their rules about technological development. They've been keeping Earth isolated, feeding us technology in tiny doses, treating us like children. His face hardened. Some of us got tired of waiting. And my father-in-law was one of you? Howard was our scientific genius. He worked with friendly aliens who believed in our potential. Together they developed the technology Ethan inherited. Lucas looked at the boy, with something like pride. Your grandfather wanted humanity to reach the stars in this generation, not centuries from now. A loud beep interrupted them. One of the Proximan ships had changed course, heading in their direction. They've spotted us, Lucas said, his voice calm despite the danger. Hold on. He pushed the controls forward, and the ship dived between two massive asteroids. The Proximan ship followed. Lucas wove through the asteroid field with incredible precision, but the alien ship stayed with them. They're good, Lucas muttered. Too good to be regular hunters. What does that mean? Kimberly asked. It means they sent their best. Lucas flipped a switch. Deploying countermeasures. Small objects shot out from their ship, exploding into clouds of shimmering dust. The pursuing ship flew through one cloud and suddenly spun out of control, crashing into an asteroid. Did you kill them? Ethan asked quietly. No, Lucas assured him. Disabled their navigation. They'll drift until their backup systems come online. He looked at the boy. I don't kill unless there's no other choice. Once they were clear of the asteroid field, Lucas activated what he called the real FTL drive. The stars stretched into lines again, but this time the sensation was smoother. Where are we going? Kimberly asked. My ship, the Defiance. It's hiding in Saturn's rings. The journey took less than an hour. When they dropped out of FTL, the massive ringed planet filled their view screen. Hidden among the ice particles of the rings was an enormous ship, at least 20 times the size of their small vessel. That's your ship? Ethan gasped. It's huge. Home to 300 humans and aliens who believe in our cause, Lucas said, with obvious pride. And now home to you two as well, at least for a while. Their small ship docked inside the Defiance's massive hangar bay. When the door opened, Kimberly was struck by the strange mix of sights and smells. It was like a small city inside the ship. Humans worked alongside beings of various shapes and colors. Some aliens had multiple limbs, others floated rather than walked. Don't stare, Lucas advised quietly. They're people, just like us. Different biology, same hopes and dreams. A slender blue alien approached them. She had delicate features and silver eyes with no pupils. Commander, welcome back. We detected Proximan ships in the area. They're tracking the boy, Lyra, Lucas explained. Pass the word. We're at combat readiness. The blue alien, Lyra, looked at Ethan with interest. This is Howard's grandson? The inheritor? Yes, Lucas confirmed. Ethan, this is Lyra. She worked with your grandfather for many years. She's from Centauri Prime. You're from another star? Ethan asked, amazed. Lyra smiled. Yes, child. Alpha Centauri is my home system. She turned to Lucas. The council is demanding answers. They've called an emergency session. Lucas sighed. I knew they would. Tell them I'll bring our guests. He led Kimberly and Ethan through corridors filled with technology unlike anything Kimberly had ever seen. They passed what looked like gardens growing strange plants, workshops where people built unknown devices, and a medical bay where injured crew members of various species were being treated. The council chamber is ahead, Lucas explained. Leaders of our alliance, they need to meet you and decide our next move. What council? Kimberly asked. Why do they need to meet us? Because the Proximans weren't the only ones searching for you, Lucas said grimly. We've detected a Confederation peacekeeping fleet entering the solar system. 17 ships, heavily armed. They're coming for us too? Kimberly asked, horrified. Not exactly. They're coming for me. Lucas's face darkened. I'm wanted for crimes against galactic order in 17 star systems. But now they have a new mission, to seize or destroy your son's inheritance. Can we fight them? Ethan asked. No one can fight a peacekeeping fleet, kid. Not even the Defiance. Then what do we do? Kimberly asked. Lucas stopped outside large, doors decorated with symbols from different worlds. We use their own laws against them. Howard discovered something in his research, a legal loophole in Confederation law. If we can prove humanity has the right to technological self-determination, they can't touch us or the patents. And how do we prove that? Kimberly asked. By taking your case before the Grand Galactic Tribunal. Lucas placed his hand on the door. But first we need the Council's approval. They have to agree to risk everything to help you. As the doors opened, Kimberly saw a semicircle of strange beings seated at a curved table. Some looked almost human, others were utterly alien, beings of crystal, light, or shapes that hurt her eyes to look at. The boy with 50 million in patents, one being said in a deep rumbling voice. The human child who threatens the order of the galaxy. Ethan gripped his mother's hand tightly as all eyes turned to him. Not threatens, Lucas corrected. Changes. Forever. The council debated for hours. Voices were raised, strange languages filled the air, and once a crystalline being shattered a table in anger. Through it all, Lucas stood calmly with Kimberly and Ethan, defending their right to seek justice. The risk is too great, argued a tall being with green skin. The tribunal has never ruled in favor of a developing world. Then this will be the first time, Lucas replied. Howard found evidence that humans are not what the Confederation says we are. Eventually a vote was taken. By a slim margin, the Council agreed to help. The Defiance would escort Kimberly and Ethan to the Grand Galactic Tribunal. Over the next 3 days, as they traveled beyond the solar system, Lucas trained them for what lay ahead. They learned about the tribunal, its customs, and the case they would present. The tribunal station orbits a neutron star at the center of the galaxy, Lucas explained as they sat in his private quarters. Representatives from over 200 spacefaring species will hear our case. What exactly is our case? Kimberly asked. Lucas activated a device that projected images of ancient cave paintings, pyramids, and other archaeological sites from Earth. Howard discovered something the Confederation has hidden for millennia. Humans are not native to Earth. What? Kimberly gasped. We're descendants of an advanced civilization that lost a galactic war millions of years ago. The victors stripped our ancestors of technology and memory, then quarantined us on Earth to evolve again from scratch. Ethan leaned forward, fascinated. So we're really space people? Yes. And Howard found proof in your DNA, Ethan. Lucas looked at the boy seriously. That's why the patents came to you. You carry genetic markers of our original species. Your grandfather discovered that certain children born in the last generation have these markers more strongly than ever before. It's like our original nature is reasserting itself. That's why Ethan understands the technology so easily, Kimberly realized. Lucas nodded. Howard believed it wasn't just inheritance, it's in his blood. A soft chime interrupted them. Commander, Lyra's voice came through a speaker. Confederation ships approaching, they're hailing us. On my way, Lucas responded. He turned to Kimberly and Ethan. Stay here, this could get complicated. But it wasn't complicated. It was worse. The Confederation ships didn't attack. Instead, they escorted the Defiance to the tribunal station. Somehow, news of their journey had spread. The tribunal station was enormous, like a city in space. Ships from countless worlds docked at its many ports. Inside, the corridors were filled with beings of all descriptions, some so strange that Kimberly couldn't look at them directly. Keep your eyes forward, Lucas advised. Some species exist partly in other dimensions. Looking too long can give you headaches. They were led to quarters to rest before the hearing. That night, Kimberly found she couldn't sleep. Tomorrow, she would stand before representatives of the entire galaxy to argue for her son's future, and possibly humanity's. A soft knock came at her door. It was Lucas. "Can't sleep?" he asked, understanding in his eyes. "How did you get involved in all this?" Kimberly asked. "You never really explained." Lucas was quiet for a moment. "I was a soldier, got injured in combat. Howard saved my life with alien technology when Earth doctors couldn't help. After that, I saw the truth, how we're being held back, treated like children." His metal hand flexed. "This arm isn't just a replacement. It's better than the original. Imagine what we could do if everyone had access to this technology." "But is it safe?" Kimberly asked. "Maybe the Confederation has reasons for their rules." "They do. Fear." Lucas looked her in the eyes. "They're afraid of us, Kimberly. Human potential scares them. When other species take centuries to advance, we do it in decades. When they follow rules, we find creative solutions. Howard believed that's why we were quarantined in the first place. Our original species was too unpredictable, too adaptable." The next morning, they entered the great hall of the tribunal. It was a vast chamber with seating for thousands. In the center was a circular platform where they would present their case. The tribunal judges entered, 7 beings chosen from the oldest species in the galaxy. They wore flowing robes of metallic fabric and had translators that allowed everyone to understand each other. The chief judge, a tall being with pale blue skin and silver eyes, opened the proceedings. "We gather to hear the case of Ethan Davenport, minor child of Earth, regarding inheritance rights to restricted technology." The Proximan representative spoke first, arguing that the patents should be confiscated for galactic security. "Humans are violent, unpredictable, and reckless. Their history is filled with war. Giving them this technology now would be like giving a child a fusion bomb." Other representatives spoke, most agreeing with the Proximans. Lucas presented their case with passion, showing Howard's research about humanity's true origins. But the judges seemed unconvinced. Then the Proximan representative played his final card. "Since the human child is a minor, we propose the patents be placed in galactic trust until he reaches legal adulthood, by Confederation standards." "And when would that be?" the chief judge asked. 500 standard galactic years," the Proximan replied with a smug smile. Murmurs filled the hall. "Iacum, 500 years was nothing to many species, but for humans it meant generations would pass before they could claim their rightful technology." Lucas stood in outrage. "This is theft disguised as legal procedure." The chief judge raised a hand for silence. "The tribunal will consider this proposal." As the judges conferred, Kimberly felt despair washing over her. They had come so far only to lose everything. Suddenly, Lucas stepped forward. "I invoke the right of advancement combat." The hall went completely silent. Even the judges looked stunned. "The right hasn't been invoked in 7,000 years, one judge whispered. "But it remains valid law," Lucas insisted. "When a developing species believes they are ready to advance, they may challenge the ruling through combat. One champion from each side. If the developing species wins, they earn the right to technological self-determination." The chief judge looked troubled. "You would risk everything on combat?" "We would," Lucas said firmly. "I will serve as Earth's champion." After much debate, the judges reluctantly agreed. The Confederation selected their champion, Admiral Zorax, a massive reptilian warrior with natural armor and regenerative abilities. That night, Kimberly pleaded with Lucas. "You can't fight that thing. We saw its record, it's never lost a battle." "There's no other way," Lucas replied quietly. "Sometimes you have to fight for what's right." "What about Ethan? What about his inheritance?" Lucas placed something in her hand, a small data crystal. "This contains everything Howard discovered about our true origins. If I fall tomorrow, get this to Earth somehow. Our people deserve to know the truth." The next morning, the combat arena was filled with spectators from across the galaxy. The battle would be broadcast to every Confederation world. As Lucas stepped onto the fighting platform, Kimberly held Ethan close. Whatever happened today would change humanity's future forever. He's doing this for us, Ethan said quietly, watching Lucas prepare to face the hulking alien warrior. For all of us. I know, Kimberly whispered. Your grandfather would be proud. The signal was given. The fight for humanity's future began.